History remembers some men, not just for what they did, but for the courage in which they stood against impossible odds. Today we journey into the life of Herbert Samuel Heelas Badmus Olayinka Macaulay, the father of Nigerian nationalism. A man flamboyant, controversial, brilliant, and even feared, known in Lagos politics as the Wizard of Keston Hall. If you're new here, welcome to Everything Sociology 24. I'm your host, Odey Godwin Agbaka. If you enjoy stories about history, culture, and society, make sure you hit that subscription button and turn on your notification so you never miss an episode. Herbert Macaulay was born on the 14th of November 1864, right in the bustling heart of Lagos. He wasn't born into an ordinary family. His father, Thomas Babington Macaulay, was the founder and first principal of the famous CMS Grammar School, the first secondary school in Nigeria. His mother, Abigail, was the daughter of none other than Bishop Samuel Ajayi Crowther, the legendary linguist, missionary, and the first African Anglican bishop. In other words, Herbert grew up with the weight of history and expectation on his shoulders. His family was deeply religious, disciplined, and tied to education. His father, strict like a military commander, shaped young Herbert's character with discipline, but also gave him the foundation to rise. As a brilliant student, Herbert started his tertiary education at Fura Bay College in Sierra Leone, West Africa's first university. But in 1890, his life changed when he received a scholarship from the colonial government to study in England. In Plymouth, he trained as a land surveyor and civil engineer, but Macaulay was no ordinary student. While in London, he also studied music, earning certificates in piano and violin. He even became a strong chess player, representing the west of England in tournaments. By 1893, he had qualified and returned to Lagos, full of dreams and determination to make an impact on his homeland. Upon his return, the colonial government employed him as a surveyor of crown lands in Lagos. But by 1898, disillusioned with the corruption and injustice he witnessed, Herbert resigned. He started his own private civil engineering practice, quickly becoming respected by Lagos chiefs and landowners, especially because of his deep knowledge of Lagos lands and history. This move was the turning point. It placed him on the path of defending African rights against colonial exploitation. In the 1910s and 1920s, Lagos was bustling with political agitation. Issues of water rates, land ownership, and railway finances, these were the battles of the day. And leading the charge was Herbert Macaulay. In 1915, the famous Oluwa land case brought him national attention. He represented Chief Amodu Tijani Oluwa against the British government, who had forcefully taken indigenous land. The case went all the way to the Privy Council in London, and against all odds, Herbert helped win. The land was returned and compensation awarded. This victory made him a hero amongst Lagosians, but a bitter enemy of the colonial government. His nickname spread, Ejo Nigboro, the snake in the town, a strategist, cunning, and unrelenting. The defining drama of Herbert Macaulay's political life came with the Eleko affair. At the center was the sacred staff of office of the Oba of Lagos, a symbol of power gifted by Queen Victoria. Colonial officials accused Herbert of plotting to take the staff to London during his legal fight for Chief Oluwa. Legend has it that he raided a grave at night, hid the staff inside the walls of his residence at Keston Hall before secretly moving it out of Lagos. From London, he issued a bold statement that the Eleko of Lagos was the head of 17 million Nigerians, yet earned less than the lowest paid European gardener. Imagine the scandal. The colonial government was furious. They pressured the Eleko to publicly deny Macaulay's word, but the Oba refused to be humiliated. His stipend was cut, his recognition withdrawn, sparking a political storm, and Herbert Macaulay stood right at the center, unshaken. For his defiance, Macaulay suffered. He was jailed in 1919 and again in 1928 after his newspaper, the Lagos Daily News, accused the colonial government of plotting to assassinate the Eleko. But rather than silence him, prison only made him more popular. Lagosians admired his courage. They saw him as the voice of the oppressed. And indeed, Macaulay embraced journalism as a weapon, exposing corruption, mocking colonial officers, and inspiring resistance. In 1923, Herbert Macaulay founded Nigeria's first political party, the Nigerian National Democratic Party, NNDP. For the first time, Nigerians organized politically to challenge colonial policies. The NNDP dominated elections into the Legislative Council throughout the 1920s. But by the 1930s, younger movements like the Nigerian Youth Movement began to rise. Macaulay, rather than resist, chose to collaborate, together with his protege, a young firebrand named Nnamdi Azikiwe. They formed the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, NCNC, in 1944. This was not just a political party, it was a nationalist movement that laid the foundation for Nigeria's independence. Behind the politics, Herbert Macaulay lived a dramatic personal life. He married Caroline Pratt in 1898, but tragically she died just 8 months during childbirth. Heartbroken, Macaulay vowed never to remove a black bow tie from his neck, a vow he kept until his death. He suffered more losses. His mother died in 1920 and 2 of his oldest children in 1931. These tragedies shaped him. Some say they drove him deeper into superstition and mysticism. He became fascinated with traditional religion, Ifa divination, and was even regarded as a Babalawo, that is, an Ifa priest. His house, Keston Hall, was known not just for politics, but also for mysterious rituals, giving rise to his title, the Wizard of Keston Hall. In 1946, though frail and advised not to travel, Macaulay could not resist one last campaign. Alongside Azikiwe, he toured Nigeria, exposing the controversial Richard Constitution, but in Kano, his health failed. On May 7, 1946, Herbert Macaulay breathed his last at the age of 81. His last words: "Tell the National Council delegates to halt wherever they are for 4 days for Macaulay, and then carry on. Tell Oget, my son, to keep the flag flying." Herbert Macaulay was buried in Lagos on May 11, 1946. Over 500,000 people followed his casket, markets closed, an Eyo festival was held in his honor. He never lived to see independence in 1960, but the seeds he planted grew into the tree of a free Nigeria. Today, his face appears on the old 1 naira coin. His name is remembered as the man who, with wit, courage, and even trickery, defied colonial masters and gave birth to Nigerian nationalism. And that is the incredible story of Herbert Macaulay, a surveyor, an engineer, journalist, nationalist, a mystic, and the Wizard of Keston Hall. If you enjoyed the story and want more deep dives into African history, don't forget to subscribe to Everything Sociology 24. Give this video a thumbs up and share with someone who needs to know about our history. I am Odey, Godwin, Agbaka. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep the flag flying.